Okay, Francesco, meet the Candid Wines team. You can see everybody there. Everybody meet.
Hi, new folks in Candid. Excellent. So nice to meet you guys.
All right, so Francesco, let's just go. So we've got Anik, we've got Daphne, we've got Sincero, we've got Chianti, and we've got Nicole. And we've wasted a lot of time getting you on board. So let's start with Anik, and then we'll just talk through every wine, and we'll also then have a nice segment that we can break up later if we go one by one. So starting out, tell us about Anik.
Yeah, so everybody knows the state, the history, or you need just a refresh on the winery really quick?
Go ahead for the winery, yeah, give us that, we'll start there. Yes.
Okay. So we are based in San Miniato, is a small town between Florence and Pisa. And is a really old estate because the first owner was the Bonaparte family during the 15th century. They were banned from Florence during a noble fight and so on. So they have been based in the San Miniato area, buying 22 different estates. So this is one of those. Then after Bonaparte, during the 19th century, another noble Tuscan family became the owner. Really important because one of them, of the Ridolfi Marquis, was Cosimo Ridolfi, a really important agronomist during that time. So he founded also the first agriculture university in Italy, that one in Pisa. And so when I hope you will visit the state, the design, so the different parcels, the different sets between vineyards, olives, gardens, orchard, fruit trees, comes from that period. He also built the cellar that we are still using practically with the same approach because our cellar is made by concrete tanks. So we have 20 different concrete containers. Of course, we added some big wooden barrels, some stainless steel, and we use the barrel room for small barrels, the old cellar from the Bonaparte, underground the main villa. So the Masini, the brand, started in 2000, immediately organic, and then in 2005 biodynamic. I came in 2012, and a few months later I became partner in the company, doing co-ownership, so having the management of all the farming processes, from the grapes to Zoom meeting. So actually is a new task in COVID. So from grapes to Zoom would be a nice spot, you know, during COVID time. So I always been working in biodynamic, not only viticulture, so horticulture, livestock, and so on. And actually, I'm really happy of the 10 years of progresses, and even for our wines. Starting with Anik, in 2000, the Masini planted a lot of French grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Chardonnay, and Sauvignon Blanc. So to introduce the Anik, that now is a Vermentino and Sauvignon Blanc, I would like to say Anik was born like a Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. My process is, my wish is to slowly converting the international grapes in Tuscan grapes. So that's why we are adding and planting every year some more Vermentino and some more Sangiovese and some more Sanforte, that is our indigenous, really, really rare indigenous grapes. So now Annick is a Sauvignon Blanc and Vermentino. Sauvignon directly pressed. We normally harvest end of August to enhance the freshness, the acidity. It's not one of the best climate for Sauvignon. Summer here is pretty hot, so the harvest has to be done really early in order to save the freshness. So we ferment, so white vinification, no skin contact. We add just a 10% of skin contact to as a starter, as a pied de cuve, you know. Always fermented in concrete, and a few batches in stainless steel when we need to different batches. Then later, normally mid-September, we harvest the Vermentino, and Vermentino is is fermented on the skins. So 1 week, 10 days on the skins. So it's a good blend because we got the best from both grapes, so the freshness and the acidity, all the citric sides from Sauvignon, and the good structure of Vermentino, the good aromatic profile, and we gave more length in the palate from the skin contact, you know. So that's why Annick is a really approachable, really lovable, and drinkable white wine, but I guess with a nice palate, a nice persistency. You will see.
Would you just tell us about Vermentino? What kind of a grape is Vermentino?
Yeah, Vermentino is a big family of white grapes around the Mediterranean area. So it's common to find in all the coast of France, Italy, Sardinia. So in France they call roll. I always forget the name in French.
Roll, R-O-L-L-E.
Roll, yeah. So apparently is related with Trebbiano and Procanico, but more aromatic, much more aromatic. So good bunch, so nice weight per bunch, but more acidity and more aromas compared to the Trebbiano.
Okay.
So obviously we are testing the 2020, right?
Yes.
So you have,
yeah.
So I'm not a sommelier, so I'm absolutely open on tasting notes from you. What is nice for me in, about the nose of Annick, and immediately this saltness. So you can feel the mineral side even from the nose, and you have these really sweet flowers, I would say. So the flowery, the flower side from the nose gives you an idea of sweetness. Then you will see in the palate the wine is totally dry, but from the nose, from the aromas, you have this lovable flower, sweet flower.
So one of the things I think that's appealing with this is that ease of entry and the softness of the white flower on the nose, where it is very inviting. But because it is on the label, it says Sauvignon Blanc, for somebody who doesn't really understand anything about a wine program. Sorry if we're recording this. For somebody who wants to make a different choice about recognizable domestic varieties, you can talk to your guests about being Sauvignon Blanc, even though you're 80% Vermentino, and be honest about that. But the nose sort of invites you in, and then you explore it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the goals of Annick is converting Sauvignon haters to drink Sauvignon. I mean, because it's a really unusual Sauvignon Blanc. Sometimes, even during tasting here with tourists, people, no, I hate Sauvignon. So they taste the Annick and, but this is different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. And this is still on the list. Megan's done a nice job of working with Nico. So what is now Nico at the Thompson Hotel, that's all changed. Brett is no longer there, but it's an account that Megan's been working with, and has, with the changeover in vintage, that's continued. And also the Chianti is now on their party menu. So they've been taking a bunch of Chianti as well, which has been a good victory.
Excellent. Excellent. So you say we're gonna have a little interaction later, or guys, you wanna say something?
Our issue is the sound in the room. If we turn sound on, we have to shift a lot. Dan, you're very free to go ahead and speak and tell us what you imagine these things taste like. So Dan is out of the office with taking care of a kid today, so he wasn't here with the wines. But Dan, feel free to ask questions if you'd like. If yeah, just if you guys talk, you need to speak up if you want to.
I've tried the 2019 and the 2020. I loved the 2019 when I tried it, and then the 2020, probably just maybe 2 weeks ago, we popped the bottle and did some tasting, and wow, the 2020 was even more expressive and just a phenomenal vintage. What do you ascribe that to? And do you feel the same way, or do you feel differently? And
well, I have to remember the 19, but 2020 was really successful. So we finished, even thanks to you, we finished we finished it in July. So we had a lot of local customers, really hungry. So you send it to export, so we don't have more on Annick. So and actually, yes, 2020 was I think more deep, more consistent. Maybe due of in terms of vintages, they were not so distant, so there were two vintages really close, really similar, but maybe 2020 hotter, a bit warmer, so you can feel maybe more warmth from Tuscany. Maybe the Vermentino gave more aromas. So Vermentino expressed a lot during hot vintages, instead of Trebbiano, instead of Sauvignon Blanc, where it's really difficult to preserve all the really delicate aromas being, too hot,
Okay, let's jump to Daphne.
Daphne, are you doing screenshots? Yeah.
So we're recording, and Sean will go through afterwards
Okay,
And I can pull screenshots from the recording, and Sean may also break up. So when we have the individual pieces on each wine, we can
Excellent.
also cut them as just after.
Yeah.
So this is new for us, this vintage, relatively new.
Which vintage?
This is 19, right?
No, 20.
Oh, 20, sorry.
Okay. So we are still selling the 20. So nice color, I can see from. So Daphne is made from Trebbiano and Malvasia. So the two other typical white grapes in Tuscany. It's made from a really old vineyard of Trebbiano and Malvasia, co-planted. So we can say technically is a field blend. It's a field blend from a co-fermentation. And this is actually, the percentage is actually the classic ratio between Trebbiano and Malvasia in the old Tuscan farmer approach. So they used to plant roughly 80% Trebbiano plants and 20% Malvasia plants. So we co-ferment. It means we wait a bit more the Trebbiano that has some during some vintages a bit later ripening from Malvasia. But we wait because so not ripe Trebbiano is really flat, so it doesn't bring any flavors. So we wait a bit more. It means we harvest late September, sometimes beginning of October. We co-ferment, so we put in small tanks of 10 hectoliters, where we can punch down the skins by hand. So it's all our small selection are made in this way. So in small tanks where the fermentation can be really gentle. So we punch down the skins by hand. So really taking care as a kid. And for roughly 1 week, 10 days. So we never tried the extreme skin contact, even if right now people say less than 1 month is not an orange wine, less than 1 year on the skins. So
You've been talking to Fred?
yeah, maybe, but now it seems you know, this is an orange for beginners, so 1 week is not enough. However, we like.
Francesco, just coming in and smelling this, this really jumps out to me as compared to our history with it. Maybe because it's young, maybe because you guys are evolving a little bit, but I feel like there is a sort of it's a really delicate line of flavors that's kind of like ginger and ginger ale,
Yeah.
and sort of really lifted and really cool. And I get those aromas as opposed to, I feel like in the past it was maybe a little bit more of something that was grippy and salty, and I had an impression of tannin coming. Whereas here you have flavors that are not necessarily white wine flavors. So I'm in the world of orange wines, but I have something that's really appealing on the nose.
Yeah, actually, I was saying this is the way we like, because for some way even I mean, I will not say is a super orange wine. It's just a more complex white made with the skin contact. So yeah, technically it's an orange wine, but sometimes people can be scared by this name. So we don't like to push a lot the oxidation flavors. So we don't like to push a lot all the tannin. We like this style of elegant and complex white wine. That's why the skin contact is not too long, so 10 days, even because the fermentation has to be finished in wooden barrels. So we put in barrels before the end of the fermentation to integrate the wood during the fermentation instead of after fermentation, where you have more migration of wood and tannin to the wine. So fermenting in wood is a good way to integrate the tannin and even smooth the tannin a bit, you know. So
Fred Shearer talks about the development of nanoproteins when you're fermenting in the wood with the Chardonnay, that it's incorporated into the actual body of the wine as opposed to being something latched on top, which then also becomes much easier to separate. So you get the wood more on the nose and you get more of a separation of two things as opposed to those long chain proteins. So
exactly. That's why before the end of fermentation, that normally takes 2 weeks, we put in barrels, and then we leave there for 1 year. We normally bottle before the next harvest to get free the barrels for the new vintage. So we are having good feedback even from not orange lovers. You know, now the world is split in orange lovers and orange haters. So we like wine and that's it. Was not even local sales. You know, in Italy we don't drink orange wine, so we just export orange wine. No, it's true. So Italian people are. I mean, it's changing, but traditional Italian people, they like classic, transparent white wine. So really clear, really easy. But Daphne, for some people not aware of maceration in white wines, Daphne is a really good. I would say compromise, but it's just a good, interesting macerated white wine. And pairing with Daphne is amazing because so you can match all a little bit more complex food for white wine, like maybe fat fishes, like codes, like bacala, you know, or even white meat, or as Damien knows, Asian foods with orange wines, and with Daphne is great. Curry, it's absolutely amazing. Truffle, if you have truffle, Daphne is one of the best pairing. I like with eggs. That is not so easy to pair, to match eggs, but Daphne is a really good pairing with eggs.
do you insist on shaving the truffles on top of the eggs, or do you mix them while you're cooking?
No, on the top, but yeah. Even if you can use truffle butter for frying the eggs and then adding truffle.
if you don't live in the heart of Tuscan truffle country, you can buy truffle butter.
Yeah.
Good. Anybody questions on Daphne?
I don't have a bottle in front of me, so I apologize if this is on the label or the back label, but where did the name come from?
Ex-girlfriends? No, this is the the joke.
Same old story, yep, every time.
Yeah. No. All the names come from the history of the states, especially Mazzini's family. So the first Annick is Cosimo's wife. Daphne is the daughter. But for example, Nicole is the daughter of the first wine guy who came here in 2000 from the beginning. So Nicole is now 20 years old girl, and she was born at the States. And Sincero, what's the name? What Sincero comes from?
Yes. So
They know for sure.
We've been looking at the videos, Francesco, and I showed them. Megan maybe doesn't make the connection, but the first producer. So it was Cipriano, and Cipriano's daughter is Nicole, and Cipriano is he of the poop of the cow.
Thanks for that.
So yeah, we were watching because I have videos with Cipriano and Cosimo from visits before you were there with the whole 500 preparation, and Cipriano gave detailed explanations. But he said, so you take the horn and you put it, you say, how do you say the poop of the cow?
The poop.
Oh.
No,
Sincero, and just so everybody knows, because you joke, Sincero is in fact means candid, and means candid because it was walking with Cosimo Mazzini in the winery, and at the time tasting the wine that was in the old tank, in the old big vat, the big old wooden vat, where we tasted everything else. And I asked Cosimo what it was, and he said, oh, that's just our house blend that we sell to the restaurants locally of younger vines and things we mix. And I said, oh, great, can we taste it? And he said, sure. And we tasted it. And I quite literally said, you sell this for how much to the local restaurants? And he told me, and I said, okay, well, we'll buy it all, well, without a doubt. Back when it was maybe 1,200 bottles for export or something like that. And if I'm not mistaken, it's now sold all over the world and is your best-selling wine.
Yeah, he's our bestseller. Yeah. And yeah, much more progresses have been done since the beginning, because first of all, it was no vintage wine. So they used to blend different batches from not used for making Nicole, or the Cabernet was called the Nicolo. So they used to blend everything into the Sincero, and avoiding the vintage, because there was also a vintage blend. So since 2013, yeah, I guess, since I'm here, we are doing Sincero vintage. So we have every year the batches going in Sincero from the same vintage. So yeah, the blend, even we are recording it, but so roughly it's around 70% Sangiovese and 30% between Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. All the Cabernet comes from, as I told you first, with Annick from the plantation during the 2000. So Sangiovese right now comes from one of the most productive vineyards, so planted in 2008. Hi, Gillian. So where we make also the Chianti. However, so we take the Sangiovese from these young vineyards of 12 years old. We ferment in concrete, and then we wait the Cabernet end of September, beginning of October. So the vinification is really easy. So we don't like to push a lot of the skin contact in order to not increase the tannin for enjoy the drinkability and the freshness. And normally after the malolactic, we blend everything and we do big concrete tanks of Sincero. So it's also where, I mean, when we have space in our big wooden barrels, some batches also make up a short period in big wooden barrels of 50 hectoliters. But now you have to figure out, we are producing around 2,050, 300 hectoliters of Sincero, and we have one wooden barrel of 50 hectoliters. So it's a kind of turnover. The tasting notes on Sincero are really easy. Love, I would say, just love. It smells love, it tastes love.
Good for Valentine's Day.
You have the 19, right?
Yep. Yep, we know it, and love it. Cool, Chianti.
I jumped to take a bottle.
Yep.
Wait a second.
And therein was born a meme. Find somebody who loves you as much as Cosimo, as much as Francesco loves you. I wonder if it popped over. Yeah, I'm sure it was. It was definitely something.
Okay. So Chianti. The San Miniato is in the generic Chianti area. You know, now since I don't remember when they split, they divided the area, but during the 90s or something like that. The historical Chianti, the Chianti Classico, was separated. So the generic Chianti was born around the historical Chianti Classico area. That is really tiny compared to the generic Chianti, because Chianti Classico is around 1,300 hectares, and the generic Chianti is 17,000 hectares. So this enlargement was made for commercial, industrial purposes. So they enlarged this area to half Tuscany. So it's huge, because it goes from Arezzo to Lucca. So it's a huge area. And San Miniato is in this big area. That's why we were always able to produce a Chianti, to label a Chianti. Even Sincero could be a Chianti technically, and technically all our reds are Chianti, because the minimum required from the rules of Chianti is 70% Sangiovese. That's it. So you can figure out in terms of appellation that is pretty weird. So having an appellation where you can use 70% Sangiovese and 30% Merlot or 30% Grenache. So the wine will be totally different. That's why we never use the Chianti appellation because for some reason, for some commercial reason, Chianti has sometimes a bad reputation, like just a cheap wine, even because it was made from industrial wineries, only for industrial purposes. However, everybody in the world knows Chianti is the red wine from Tuscany. They even don't realize a lot the difference between the Chianti Classico and normal generic Chianti. So a few customers started to ask me to label a Chianti, and it was in my mind since the beginning. So let's try to make a good biodynamic Chianti, and let's try to sell with a good price point and with a good image of the old Chianti. That's why our Chianti is 100% Sangiovese. So with a really few other Tuscan grapes like Canaiolo, Malvasia, but 90% is Sangiovese. Same Sangiovese we use in Sincero, so from the young vineyards, and same vinification. It means concrete, a bit of stainless steel when is required, and when we have the space in the big wooden barrels, also big wooden barrels. So the result is, I would say, all the much typical table red wine of everyday in Tuscany. So something really drinkable but really elegant. So that's why we even here we didn't push a lot of maceration for making something really enjoyable. And is the typical Sangiovese of every day, from breakfast to to late dinner. Good.
So the tasting note for Sincero is love, and the tasting note for Chianti is good.
Yeah.
And that it's a good breakfast Sangiovese.
Yes.
Good breakfast.
Yeah. Yes, and this is so quite literally now. Thank you, Dan. The new tagline is in San Miniato, they call this a good breakfast Sangiovese.
Exactly.
A good breakfast Chianti.
He also said drink it until late dinner, which he had to say late dinner so we understand, but dinner is 10 o'clock for them, normal dinner for them, but 10 o'clock for us. I'm always like, when are you Italians gonna feed me? It's like 6 o'clock, I'm hungry. Like what? We just woke up for a siesta.
No, yeah. If we have dinner at 6 p.m., at 10 o'clock, we have to remake dinner. Sorry, I missed Nicole too. Sorry.
Have any of you tried to do it though? No, you tried to.
Yeah, it was the same thing when I was like in my early 20s and I was like, how come these restaurants aren't open between 3 and 5 or whatever? And it's like, oh, naps. I'm drinking at home.
Life.
Let's start work at
Real life.
Like, why don't you just start at 7? Like, when we sleep, you're eating dinner till like midnight.
Lots of late dinners.
Goes all night. We get home at like 2 and go to bed.
Nicole,
Nicole.
so you know the 19?
18.
18, okay. So, you know, one of the worst question is, which is your preferred wine? So, and it always being a trouble for a winemaker because all our wines, all our cuvee are like kids, so you cannot say. But sometimes I realize Nicole maybe is my preference.
Why?
You know, is a crew. So maybe it's our best crew from maybe the best parcel. And so it's a crew from 1 hectare, 0.2 of Sangiovese. And actually is the vineyard at the entrance on the top of the state. So the sunniest one exposed to southwest is the vineyard you see every day, many times per day, because you know, Damien is on the right, on the left of cypresses, so just at the entrance. So it's something that you see growing every morning, and you go sleep looking at that vine. Yeah, actually, it's on the top, on southwest, and the Sangiovese there really gives a lot of concentration. And since 2015, we started to make entirely it entirely in a big wooden barrels. So fermentation and then aging. So we ferment and in a big wooden barrels of 50 hectoliters, and we live there after fermentation for 1 year, 1 year and a half. The result is a really scholastic Sangiovese, where scholastic is not a bad meaning, but so if you want to describe, if you want to introduce all the characteristic of Sangiovese to someone who is not totally aware of Sangiovese, Nicole is one of the best, because you have all the gamma of the most typical aromas and structure of Sangiovese. So you have this beautiful cherry, you have this crunchy tannin. They banned crunchy tannin in Chicago or no? No, because you are still using crunchy tannin. So
I didn't understand what you were asking. Is the crunchy?
no, because now is a description that we hate in Italy, crunchy tannin. I don't know if
It makes sense in terms of the description of it, where you have something that has a
yeah,
very specific
but
tendency.
it was overused. It was overused. That's why we hate it.
Yeah,
However, here here the tannin are really eatable. I mean, you can really feel in the mouth, but they are totally not aggressive. They are really ripe tannin, really mature. And actually, that's why I was saying educational, pedagogic Sangiovese, because a flat Sangiovese, so Sangiovese has to be a bit astringent, with a bit of astringency, a bit of tannin notes. And then you have maybe the best characteristic I prefer, this elegancy in Sangiovese that sometimes can be closer to Pinot, to Nebbiolo. So I like this style of Sangiovese. And so the energy that gives me Nicole, I would say, is a bit higher than the rest. What do you think?
I'm really happy to go through and try them all side by side and think about, specifically to think about the tannins. Because I think when we talk about them, that's something to really focus in on in terms of pairing, in terms of how people use them, might use them as a glass pour or a bottle pour. The description of the riper, more specifically Sangiovese that's then done in oak. Granted, 50 hectoliter is a big botte. I mean, a 50 hectoliter is basically like a big thing. If you took around the side of this table, it's huge. It's, but I think that's a really useful way to show them side by side. And I think maybe we haven't done a good enough job of presenting them side by side to give people the choice and see the difference. And I think you can, the difference is so distinct, you could take them and show them this way, where you were leading the buyer to a specific placement. And you might taste the Chianti and say, okay, by the glass, I want something that somebody's just going to be drinking. And so you have lighter tannin. And now you can, for the right buyer, do a little bit of education about extraction of tannin, or have them feel like a star for recognizing it. So I think that's really useful, and it's showing very well now. It's I like that. We had earlier today, we were doing some blind tasting and went through and had the Côte du Rhône from, or the Vin de France from Pierre André, from Jacqueline André in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And in tasting that, I was really struck by the perception of pH in it, where it's really lifted, where it's not grabbing, but it's like present and bright. And I feel like this has some of the same, which is another fun comparison to draw, and useful in thinking about, again, how you pair and what they are. The distinction between ripe tannins that are present and tannins that are astringent and grab is so obvious here, where you have that idea of a crunchy tannin. It's a crunchy tannin and then dissipates. gives you a relief that speaks to ripeness. It's a really, it's cool. I don't think I've presented or thought about those this way, and this is useful.
Yeah. Yeah, even because the whole in terms of pairings is really Tuscany. Even if you can drink with salads too, but best pairings with T-bone, with stacks, or ragu, or something. So tomato sauces. A good hamburger from rootstock. Yeah, pizza is great, but maybe here the tannin is a bit aggressive. But so if Chianti is a breakfast Sangiovese, and Nicole maybe it's a good dinner Sangiovese, you know.
And don't worry, because you're going to have a late dinner later with more Chianti.
Yeah. You can start breakfast, Nicole, if you're gonna be too late.
Cool. Terrific. Any other questions around the table for Francesco? Good. Here, everybody, I'll pass a bottle around just for your screen, just so we have one screenshot. Grab a. Bring it in close, screenshot. Thank you, European Union.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Francesco. This is terrific. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, nice to see you, and also your new collaborators. Nice to meet you on Zoom, hopefully in live as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you are thinking about traveling, everything's loosening up. So just let us know and come see us.
Yeah, I hope from next fall, visiting all the style visits around November.
Yeah,
would be nice. Yeah.
cool. Great. We'll be here.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Francesco.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Yeah, I was really happy about this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.